Okay, this will be a next step thing for you to look at. We had this scale. That's the G major scale harmonized in tenths. When I talk about tenths, well, let me show you G major scale first. Okay, when I talk about tenths, I would think of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? So I'm harmonizing in tenths. If I count it across 2 octaves, that 10th note is basically the 3rd note an octave higher. So far so good. So I'm going to keep the 3rd of each chord as I go up through the scale set, through the chord set inside the scale. So that would be G major is the 1 chord, A minor is the 2 chord, B minor is the 3 chord, C major is the 4 chord, D major is the 5 chord, E minor is the 6 chord, F minor 7 flat 5 is the 7 chord, we'll come back to that, and then I reach the octave, which is the G again. Okay, so G, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, let's call it F sharp minor, and G major up the top. Okay, I'm letting this G note drone through because we hear this kind of trick, this little thing we can do on the guitar in lots of songs. We hear it on this one. A little bit of a sloppy playing there. Hopefully the Warner copyright bots won't pick that up. It's a tiny excerpt. It's for educational purposes. Okay. So we can see that, right? So what have I got there? Well, I've got a way of playing the scale and harmonizing it, and I'm staying inside of the chord set. Well, I can take those. I know which chords are going to work because I know the scale. So the first chord is G major. The second chord is A minor. The third chord, B minor. Fourth chord is C major. Fifth chord is D dominant 7, but I mean you can do a D major as well if you like. The sixth chord is E minor, very familiar. Then we end up with a F sharp minor 7 flat 5, which is all the sort of leftover notes. We don't use that too often, and then that gets us back to G. If you hear a song and it's in the key of G, 9 times out of 10 you're going to hear this set of chords. You know, it's not going to be in that order. It's not going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be really weird. But you do even hear that in songs. Another copyright song there, right? But it's not in that key, the original one. But you get the picture, right? That even sometimes you will hear the chords in order, yeah, climbing up. More familiar might be sort of you'll hear like a G. And if I wanted to sort of start writing a song, I wouldn't refer to a chart. I would always sort of refer back to the scale and make sure I understand the scale. So maybe I could try something like this. You'd need to learn this pattern inside out and make sure you can do it no problem. Yeah, and let me see if I can compose something. A very posh word, compose. Yeah, let me see if I can scratch some noises together. Okay, here we go. So I'll try just any old pattern. To remember what I just did. G, D, C, G, E minor, I think I did, C major, and up to D. Well, I could turn those into chords, couldn't I, if I wanted to? G, D. What do I do next? C, G. Then I went to E minor. And then I think I did D actually. And then back to G. Works, yeah. So I didn't randomly. I did randomly pick chords, but I picked them from a random set. Does that make sense? So I started with the scale, and we're working in G because that makes a lot of sense on the guitar. Because when you look at an open G chord, it's got 3 open strings in it, so that's a really good key for guitarists, right? And just from knowing the scale and being able to harmonize the scale, and again it's just a memorized pattern. I'm not really thinking about chord names really. I'd have to figure that out after the fact. Of course I know them, but you know, I'm trying to be kind of free and creative and not think too hard about it. I'm using my ears, not a piece of paper, not a chord chart or anything like that. Sounds good to me. You know that this set of chords are going to work together. Now, as to what you could do with that set of chords, well, heck, anything you like, you know. Yeah. And if we were going to improvise over that, what scale would we use? Well, let's have a think about it. G major. Okay, so that's our first chord. Well, it's not going to be the G minor pentatonic scale, is it? No. So we would want to go down 3. Oh, 1, 2. We've run out of notes. It's going to be E then, isn't it? If you imagine that our finger was here, that would make it that the little finger had moved down to this fret, hadn't it? Gone from G minor pentatonic down to G major pentatonic. Let's see if that works. So I'll try and record the chords. Okay, so there's my chords, and I'll try that G major pentatonic scale. Bit needs some finessing. I don't think it's going to be in the top 10 anytime soon, but I know that I can get that set of chords to work because they're inside the scale, and I know that I can get that major pentatonic scale to work because the majority of notes in there work well against the majority of chords in there. Again, very simple, kind of like really basic approach to it. But if you want to get started, that's a really good way to approach it, all right? Enjoy. I'm sure it will raise more questions, but we'll get to it. All right, cheers, mate.